Part 42. Pu Qiutai is suffering from a strange cold disease in the cold palace. Ah, sneeze. Leaning on the bed, Pu Qiutai sneezed twice, and a few tears welled up from the corners of his eyes. He went to the bedside table to fumble for a handkerchief, rubbed his nose and bitter face, and secretly said that he ate some mutton outside and watched the fireworks for a while. Why did he really catch a cold? The slave maid said to let the mother wear more, but you refuse. What? What the hell is a cold, right? Honglian came in from outside the door, holding a basin of hot water in her hand. Hurry up and wash your face first. Fortunately, this is in the cold palace, there is no trouble to meet those New Year's greetings. Otherwise, if you toss for another day, this disease will not get worse immediately. Okay, I've just been standing outside for a little while, so I'm getting a little cold. So you can't finish reading? Pu Qiutai sniffed vigorously, and his words were hoarse. Today, on the first day of the Lunar New Year, you just don't walk around in the cold palace. You should go out to see the hibiscus and liulu. The slave maid has the heart to see them, but now that you are sick, the slave maid should not say that you can't go out, even if you can go out. What do you want to say when you see them? Tell them that I didn't serve you well enough to make you catch a cold? Sister Farong won't take me down right away? Liulu, Xiangtao, and Osmanthus. They are all staring at me. Look at what you said. When did serving in the cold palace become such a hot errand? How did I not know? Pu Qiutai shook his head, dried his face with a towel after washing it, and let out another big sneeze. Of course, the cold palace errand is not good. But being able to serve by mother's side is a good errand. After Honglian finished speaking, she watched Chaosha and Kaiyun put away the basin, and hurriedly took a cup of hot tea and handed it to Pu Qiutai, and said with a sad face, "What do you say? You stayed outside for a while last night, even Shanyan and Mingfang caught a cold. I heard that several eunuchs and palace maids were sick this New Year, so many people were sick, there was no wind last night. Could it be that they provoked some evil?" Pu Qiutai knew that Zhu Shanyan and Zhu Mingfang were not very good, but he didn't know that several eunuchs and palace maids were sick. So he couldn't help but be stunned when he heard this, and muttered, "Are many people sick? That's a bit of a strange thing. It's weird. Mother, Shanyan, and Mingfang are just that. You are weak in your own bones, but the eunuchs and palace maids in this cold palace, not to mention that their bodies are not weak, even if they are able to suffer from freezing. They are also stronger than others. How can they have a lot of charcoal to burn in winter? Why are they sick several times?" Honglian just sighed, but she didn't really suspect it. In winter, it is cold, and colds are commonplace. However, when Pu Qiutai heard this, he was stunned, leaned on the bed for a long time, frowned and said secretly, "My cold palace is strange. Could it be that this is the emperor's purpose? He actually knew that someone was trying to harm me, so he used such a method to lure the snake out of the hole? If that's the case, then I'm afraid this cold is just an introduction, and the real highlight is still to come, right? It's just that if that's the case, the skills of the people behind the scenes are too terrifying. What method does she use? It can make people catch a cold before they know it. Just thinking about it, I heard a sound of footsteps from the outer room, and then heard Honglian smile and said, Concubine Wen's holy family, Lord Sun knows, although he is in the cold palace at this time, it is only the emperor's momentary anger, and there will be a day to come out in the future. Because of this, mother is sick, and I don't dare to slack off, so I have to invite Lord Sun over, and I don't mean to underestimate you." When the words fell, I saw that the door curtain was lifted, and Honglian had already invited a handsome young man to come in. What did the Honglian girl say? It's about concubine Wen, who dares to be sloppy. To tell the truth, There are many people in the hospital who want to rob me of this good errand, but the girl pointed to me. This is really my honor. Don't you see? The eyes of the physicians around me are red. Pu Qiutai listened to the young imperial physician's easygoing and funny words, and he had a good impression in his heart. And when he saw him coming forward to pay a visit, he hurriedly said, "My lord, I am really uneasy to invite you from the Taiyuan hospital." The young imperial physician's name was Sun Shi, and when he heard this, he laughed and said, "Mother, don't say this, it's a shame for this minister." If it weren't for Lu Yanzheng returning to his hometown and not returning yet, Zhang Yuanju was invited by Prince Rui to take care of the old princess. Where would this errand get this minister? Mother sat down first, let the ministers look at the complexion, and then talk about the pulse. Lu Yanzheng is Lu Hongdao, and Zhang Yanzheng is Zhang Tianhai, Farong's uncle. These are the two most trusted imperial physicians of Xia Linxuan and Pu Qiutai. Now they are all gone, which adds a shadow to Pu Qiutai's already suspicious heart. Looked at this imperial physician's son carefully, but felt that his face was amiable and easygoing, and it really didn't look like he could do anything harmful. I couldn't help laughing at myself again. If this imperial physician's son really had bad deeds, how could he make a judgment in the imperial hospital so young? Not only are there no bad deeds, but I am afraid that his medical skills must also have their own unique and brilliant skills. After looking at it and asking about it, Sun Shi stood up with a smile and said, "Mother is just suffering from a cold, there is no big problem, wait for me to open a prescription, and then cooperate with the diet to nourish it. And keep it for 3 or 5 days to get rid of the disease." "Great, thank you so much, Lord Sun. Come, please go to the outer room to make a prescription. By the way, let's take a look at Miss and young master as well." Honglian opened the curtain with a smile on her face. Sun Shi was stunned for a moment, and then remembered that Pu Qiutai was indeed accompanied by 2 sensitive children, but since the emperor did not express his opinion, he was naturally happy to give a favor generously. After Sun Shi left, Honglian showed the 2 prescriptions to Pu Qiutai. Pu Qiutai is also a little medical, looked at it a few times, and felt that this prescription and food supplements were very normal, so he handed it to Honglian and said, "Just follow this, Shanyan and Mingfang's prescription. Also bring it to me." Honglian smiled. Their prescription is the same as mother, but it has to be halved. However, the body foundation is good, and there is no need for food supplements. And Lord Sun said that 2 meals of hunger are better than eating. Pu Qiutai sighed, shook his head with a wry smile, and said, "This is really useless, a scholar. My body is not as good as 2 children, and it is clear that Shanyan is also weak when he looks at it." Honglian said with a smile, "But Shanyan has also lived in the countryside for 2 years. So he is naturally stronger than mother. That's it, if you compare yourself with His Royal Highness Crown Prince, I'm afraid you'll cry." Before the words fell, he was glared at by Pu Qiutai, and heard him grit his teeth and say, "Can you speak? Who's going to compare with that dominating little guy? I'm going to get sick, and I'm going to be stabbed in the heart." Yes, yes. The slave doesn't speak, right? Honglian laughed, turned around and went out to arrange for Chaosha and Kaiyun to go to the medicine depot of the Internal Affairs Office to pick up medicine. A quarter of an hour later, the 2 came back and showed the same medicinal herbs to Honglian, and said with a smile, "Eunuch Huang of the Internal Affairs Office heard that concubine Wen was sick, and he specially gave 2 ginsengs, saying that it was to replenish mother's body." "Humph! Do you need him to be courteous?" Honglian snorted coldly. "Hundreds of years of ginseng. There are several branches in the treasury of Yunhai Palace, but mother's body is weak, and he is sick at this time. I am afraid that he will not be able to make up for his weakness. So I didn't let you take it. No matter what, it's always a part of people's hearts. Qiao Sha said with a smile, and Kaiyun on the side also said, "That's what I said, Sister Honglian." "Then let's go decoction first." "Okay." Honglian agreed, and was about to go back to the house here, when she saw a figure flash at the gate of the courtyard, and then a person walked in. Carrying a large vermilion food box in his hand, she looked at it fixedly, and couldn't help laughing. "Yo, it turned out to be Eunuch Bei. What wind blew you over?" "Okay, don't be weird. It's not me who sent concubine Wen into the cold palace. The girl has the ability, so she went back to the emperor to complain." Xiao Beiji smiled. I heard that concubine Wen is sick? Have you ever invited a physician to come and see you? I've seen it a long time ago, and when Eunuch Bei thinks about it, mother doesn't know what the illness has become. Honglian snorted coldly, and suddenly came to her senses. Huh? The imperial physician has only been gone for a while. How do you know? Where is this arranged for the ear to be reported to God? You don't care about that. You just tell me who you invited. What is the prescription? Have you retrieved the herbs? Xiao Beiji didn't answer the question, and when he saw the smile on the corner of Honglian's mouth, he hurriedly said, "It's not to scare you. This is the emperor's question. Tell me these honestly, otherwise you can't afford to delay me." Honglian pursed her lips, but she didn't dare to say strange things to Xiao Beiji again. Because she briefly said that she had invited Sun Shi to see a physician and prescribe a prescription, Xiao Beiji nodded and said, "Okay, I wrote it down. You call Qiao Sha. Don't be busy frying the medicine, bring it back to me. I will order someone to send another copy when I go back." "What are you doing? Be all abroad." Honglian frowned, but saw Xiao Beiji and said, "This is the emperor's order, you don't need to ask more, just do it." Humph. Bully people by flaunting one's powerful connections. Honglian gritted her teeth in anger, and had no choice but to call out Qiao Sha and Kaiyun, and when she asked, the medicinal herbs had already been put into the pot. So, Xiao Beiji said, "Okay, even bring me the pot later. This matter has to be kept secret. The emperor has a bad temper these days. If it is leaked, concubine Wen will naturally be fine, but you can't say it. Even if the Honglian girl is the henchman of the emperor and mother, she can't afford to bear this responsibility at that time." So far, where does Honglian not know the seriousness of this matter? Because she didn't say anything, as Xiao Beiji entered the back room. He saw that he had asked Pu Qiutai to say goodbye, and took out a few delicate side dishes from the food box. So he smiled and said, "Although the emperor is angry with mother, he is also worried about you in his heart. It's just that for the sake of face, I can't welcome mother back immediately. Let me convey his concern for mother. Mother will wait patiently for a few days, and the emperor will definitely come to welcome you back to Yunhai Palace in person." The emperor was bothered. "Please bother my eunuch to go back and tell him, saying that I was very good here, and the emperor really cared about me. Let me live in this cold palace for the rest of my life. And I would be grateful for his kindness," Pu Qiutai said indifferently. His attitude was also expected by Xiao Beiji, so he laughed awkwardly at the moment. Asked a few more words about Pu Qiutai's recent situation, and watched Qiao Sha bring over the medicine she had just fried and even the pot. He put the small casserole in the food box, and left. Could it be that the emperor arranged for the mother to enter the cold palace? What is his intention? The slave maid said that it was very strange, and if that was the case, then it made sense. Seeing that everyone had gone out, Honglian whispered to Pu Qiutai, but saw him shake his head and said, "No matter what purpose he has, I am very grateful to him for giving me this quiet time, and what I said just now is also from the bottom of my heart. I hope that the emperor can be as good as a stream. Although the mother is sick, don't daydream like this. Didn't you listen to Xiao Beiji? The emperor has a very bad temper these days. And it is estimated that he has not seen our mother for a month, so he has a short temper. It's just that Xiao Beiji asked for this medicine, and he said that he ordered someone to send it over. When will it be? Delayed mother's illness, and saw that the emperor would not cut him. What's the hurry? It's just a cold, and I won't die if you delay for a while. Let Chaosha and Kaiyun continue to decoction. When Pu Qiutai said this, he saw Honglian's eyes widening. He shook his head and smiled. Su Li is clever. Why don't you open your mind at this time? It's just that there is no medicine, so you can fry any soup, and you have to make something for others to see. Oh, the slave understands. Don't worry. There's still a pot of chicken soup stewed in the kitchen. If anyone really cares about our every move in the cold palace, make sure not to disappoint them. Honglian also laughed. But she was even more suspicious in her heart, secretly saying, could it be that there are really people in this palace who dare to attack the emperor's favorite person? It's just such a confidential matter. How did the emperor know about it? In the Ningxiang palace, Li Qingyu sat on the Luohan bed outside the bedroom, stood up for a while and sat down again. Although her expression had been calm, but only from her unconscious movements, the palace maids who served knew that the master was a little anxious at this time, for her own safety. It was better not to let her notice. It's a pity that if you don't gasp, you have to die, otherwise everyone hates not to even gasp. The atmosphere in the room was very solemn, and at this moment, Li Qingyu's henchman Huang Li walked in gently, which immediately made everyone breathe a sigh of relief and cast their grateful eyes over. Sure enough, Li Qingyu waved her hand. So all the people in the room retreated, and here Huang Li smiled, and hurriedly went over and whispered, "Mother, it's all right." Really? Li Qingyu's calm face finally smiled, and looked at Huang Li in surprise. Is it okay if it's going well? Nothing happened, did it? Did you show your feet? How is it possible to show the horse's feet? It's a trick that doesn't know what to do. Huang Li's face was also full of pride. Mother is really clever. Then concubine Wen really took the two children to watch the fireworks and eat barbecue. As a result, the news came this morning that he was sick. The Taiyuan hospital also arranged it in advance, so I invited physician Sun to come over, and the prescription was also prescribed. And the medicine was also taken, but I am afraid that it has already been fried at this time. Well, great. As long as he uses this medicine, he won't have to think about escaping bad luck again. Li Qingyu suddenly clenched her slender jade hand into a fist, and said to herself in a deep voice, "Don't blame me for being ruthless. I am also sending you to liberation, lingering on the sick bed and dying of incense and jade. Even the emperor can't help it, and then he won't be angry with your clan friends because of you." Concubine Wen, this should be the end you want, isn't it? By the way, Mother, the slave maid also heard that eunuch Bei went to the cold palace this morning, carrying a food box. Thinking that he will go to the cold palace, it must be the emperor's intention. But I don't know if this will have any impact on our next plans. Eunuch Bei went to the cold palace? Li Qingyu frowned, and suddenly snorted coldly. This palace knows that the emperor is not disheartened with concubine Wen. It has only been a month, and it has revived. Fortunately, I started quickly. Otherwise he would have returned to Yunhai Palace, and if he wanted to find such an opportunity again, I am afraid it would be extremely difficult. Mother, the slave is just afraid of. Don't be afraid. Li Qingyu interrupted Huang Li's words with a wave of her hand. It's just that the emperor is thinking about how to go down the steps now. So let eunuch Bei test concubine Wen's attitude. I don't believe that such a secret and natural thing can make the emperor wary. Unless he has supernatural powers, has front and back eyes, or knows that the queen's death is not. Hee. Otherwise, the gods are unaware. Yes, mother clever. Li Qingyu said like this. Huang Li was also completely relieved. When Huang Li withdrew, the ease and composure on Li Qingyu's face disappeared. Reaching out to cover her chest, she muttered to herself, yes, such a secret, even if it is deliberately verified. It will definitely not be found. What am I afraid of? Is it really a thief? Bah! In this harem, if you don't use selfish means, when will you have a real future? So I'm not wrong. Are there any women in the harem who don't fight? It's just a matter of ability. What's wrong with me? That's right, I'm not wrong. You two are the people I trust the most. And they are also the highest level in the Taiyuan hospital. You must check carefully. In the Heart Cultivation Palace, Xia Linxuan summoned Lu Hongdao and Zhang Tianhai under the pretext of chest tightness, and then handed over the pot of medicinal materials taken back from the cold palace to the two of them, and asked them to strictly inspect them. This can make Lu Hongdao and Zhang Tianhai embarrassed. The two glanced at each other, and Lu Hongdao said with a bitter face, Your Majesty. Although the old minister and Lord Zhang are good at diagnosis and treatment, and the medicine is also appropriate, but they are not proficient in this pharmacology. If there is a big problem with these medicines, then the ministers can still check one or two for the emperor, but if it is only a small point, the ministers are only afraid that they will not live up to the emperor's high expectations. In the Taiyuan hospital, Lord Sun and Lord Wang are both excellent in medicine and proficient in pharmacology. Why don't the emperor ask them? Nope. Xia Linxuan categorically rejected Lu Hongdao's proposal for a simple reason. I don't believe them. Lu Hongdao and Zhang Tianhai looked at each other in amazement, and they didn't understand where Xia Linxuan's words came from. They had supervised the Taiyuan hospital for so many years, and they thought that there was no dirt in it. How could the emperor suddenly say such a thing? The death of the queen before is strange. Xia Linxuan was afraid that these two old men would not be able to fully understand the stakes of this matter, so he pondered for a while, and then nodded lightly. Seeing that the faces of the two immediately changed, he said in a deep voice, You can know about this matter, and after hearing it, it will rot in your stomach. If you two are not proficient in this way, can you have a person who is proficient in pharmacology that you absolutely trust? Remember, I don't want people from the hospital to do this. Zhang Tianhai thought about it, then bowed down and said, Back to the emperor, the minister has a disciple outside the palace who has mediocre medical skills but is proficient in pharmacology, and now he has opened a pharmacy in the capital, and he has nothing to do with the palace. If the emperor can trust it, the minister can take this medicinal material out and hand it to him. I will not explain the reason, just let him check it. And he should be able to know if there is anyone doing anything here. It's fine. Then let Zhang Aiqing do this. Xia Linxuan thought about it, nodded and agreed to Zhang Tianhai's proposal.